Hello, my name is Ankit Shakya and you are watching Nepal Drives. And today we have with us the GAC Aion Y. All cars have a target market. Some cars have a more defined target market, while others are more generic. But one subset that is common to almost all cars that are available in Nepal is the family. People don't just buy cars to go to the office and back home. It's one of the biggest investments that anyone makes in their lives, and the cars have various different roles to fulfill. The GAC Aion Y teeters more towards its familial duties, as you would expect with a fully electric compact MPV. Take these rear doors for instance. They open wide, and people with rambunctious toddlers in their family will greatly appreciate it. Inside, there's plenty of space. There's very good legroom even with the front seat moved all the way back. The headroom could be better, but this is not an issue at all. It's good enough for everyone. And you can fit 3 people in the back comfortably. 4 people if you're willing to cram in a little. Maybe for when you're going to wedding receptions and have a lot of people in the party. There are compartments on the door where you can store your water bottles, and there are a couple of compartments on the back of the seats. And you get rear AC vents, which is very good because the cabin is pretty big and this will help keep the rear passengers cool. And for when you're not moving people around, you get 405 liters of boot space, 1200 if you fold down the seats. Not only is there plenty of space, if you lift up this compartment, you get a spare tire. Welcome to the front seat. The driver's seat is comfortable and you get 6-way electric adjustment, but the passenger side doesn't. So apart from opening the window and the sunshade, you control the entire car from this 14.6-inch touchscreen unit. The AC, for instance, you use it through this touchscreen right here, and you control the music as well. You also get a 360-degree camera, which is pretty useful. While this does make the dash very minimal and clutter-free, it can be very difficult to use at times. For instance, it took me 10 minutes to find out how to adjust my rear view mirrors, and I'm still having trouble finding it right here. Yeah, so it's not my favorite aspect. I would actually prefer a couple of buttons, especially for the AC. It's easier to use when you're driving, and for your volume controls as well. Although you do get controls on the steering wheels, I still do prefer a couple of buttons in the dashboard. You get another 10-inch screen right behind the steering wheel, which shows you the speed of the car, the range, and other driving information. And then you have a couple of compartments for your drinks over here. You can put your phone here like this, or on this space here. It looks like a wireless charging port, but it isn't. And you've got a space here where you can possibly store your wallet. There's a compartment here, and there are plenty of compartments on the door side as well for your water bottles. Now, before you start driving, why don't we have a quick scan of the exterior? One cool thing about this car and this key is that if I move away from the car with the key in hand, it automatically locks and the windows roll up as well. Sorry, we're talking about the exterior. Anyways, the most prominent thing about the front part are these angel wing headlights. Not only do they do a great job of illuminating the roads, they look really cool too. Something like a late 80s, 90s wrestler. The angel wing headlights still add an element of design to the profile as well. So do the 17-inch alloy wheels. There is a character line that runs through the car, and the door handles are seamlessly tucked in when you lock the car. The rear gets a type of through-type taillight. They call it the Skyline LED taillight, which I think looks really good. You don't get a rear windshield wiper, but you do get copper wiring, which helps defrost the windshield. Now that we're done with that, let's drive this thing. So this car has a 100 kilowatt motor with a 61.54 kilowatt hour battery. And according to its NEDC claim, it can go for 500 kilometers in a single range. That is colossal. Even if it doesn't go for 500 kilometers, which is most usually the case, even a 400 kilometers of range is very, very good. And if the first thing that came to your mind when you heard those numbers were, an electric car that's good for a road trip, then you and I are pretty alike. But apart from the range of 400 kilometers, approximately 400 kilometers, there are other factors that could make this a potentially good road trip car. First thing would be the numbers on the spec sheet. 225 Newton meters of torque combined with a 100 kilowatt motor makes for a good driving experience, especially if you're doing long distances. And add to that the fact that the battery pack is lower down on the platform of this car, and it gives the car a lower center of gravity, and the fact that the battery is split equally in weight in the front of the car and in the back of the car. So 50% of the weight is in the front of the car and the remaining 50% is in the rear. That makes for a good, stable driving experience. So right now I'm driving in eco mode. It's got 4 modes essentially: eco, normal, sport, and one that's called I-pedal. The I-pedal is what you would relate to a single pedal driving mode. But anyways, right now I'm driving in eco mode, and it is what you would expect an eco mode to be. Simple, sedate, it's good for city. It isn't very exciting, but it gets the job done. But once you switch to normal mode, things get a lot peppier. The acceleration response is vigorous. You step on the pedal and it just goes. And we haven't even gone to sports mode yet. Let's just test that out. Sports mode is sports mode is a lot faster. Not a huge jump in performance from normal mode, but you can definitely sense the car being a lot more exciting to drive. The power delivery is generally linear. It's not too it doesn't have too many surprises for you, but it just feels really, really fast. And because the battery is so well distributed, the weight of the battery is so well distributed, it doesn't feel too scary when you're going fast. It's stable, it feels grounded. There is a good sense of feedback from the steering wheel when it's not in comfort mode or we're not in light mode. There are 2 modes to it, I think. There are 3 modes to it: lightweight, comfort, and sports mode. Right now I'm in comfort mode and it does feel well weighted. There isn't a lot of feedback, but in lightweight mode the steering wheel is a little too light. It's feather light. I haven't driven any other car where the steering is so easy, which bodes well for in-city driving, but when you're out on the highway you do need a little bit more oomph on the steering wheel. That's when you switch to comfort mode and sports mode. But as you'd expect, driving in sports mode does affect the battery range. So if you're looking for range, go for eco mode or normal mode, because the sports mode does deplete the battery range quite a bit. But for a car of this size and this type, it handles really well, it drives really well. But I think we're veering from the topic that we started with, the potential of this being a good road trip car. The second factor that would make this a good candidate for a road trip car would be the space. The in-cabin space is colossal. We've already talked about how you can fit up to 4 people if you really cram them in the rear passenger seat, but 3 people would be the most ideal in terms of safety and comfort. In the front, the seats are really comfortable. You can go for long haul drives with ease. And then there's the cabin space of 405 liters, which is plenty for your small vacations with your family. You can fit in your suitcases, and if you've got even bigger luggage and you're just 2 people driving, you can fold down the seats, expand the cabin to around 1200 liters of space, and you're set. You're not going to run into any issues when it comes to space. And you also get a number of compartments throughout the cabin, which are really good for storing your stuff. A couple of drinks here, a small storage space here, and there are plenty more throughout the cabin of the car. The third and very important factor would be the safety. Now, while you don't get ADAS functions, which tell you you're veering off the lane, or if you're about to hit something right in front of you, you do get other safety factors, like 8 safety airbags. And you get other active and passive safety functions like ABS, EBD, traction control, the whole lot, which I do appreciate. Then there's the ground clearance. You get a total of 183 millimeters of ground clearance, which should be more than enough if you're venturing away from your office to some vacation spot out of the city. And if you do find yourself out of the city in a very long drive and you find yourself with no battery life at all, you get 3 charging options. One is the 7 kilowatt hour charger, with which you can charge your battery in 9 hours. And then you get a 2 kilowatt charger, which takes around 24 hours, so it's only for when you're at home and you want to leave your car and charge. And then you get up to 65 kilowatt DC charging, which charges your car in around an hour. But most likely you're only going to find 30 kilowatt chargers when you're traveling, and that will take around 2 hours of charging time for a full battery percentage charge. And you get 2 energy recovery modes. One is light, the other is high. The light feels non-existent, while the high is very strong and you can really feel it. And during road trips, this could lead to some nauseousness for people who are susceptible to car sickness if you're moving around in the back constantly when you're off the pedal. So that could be something that you should think about. The visibility is also pretty good when you're driving. You have a good vantage point, you can see everything that's going around, but you will notice that the dash is massive. It's really long, a little bit too long maybe, and you can't really see what's right in ahead of you. You can't see the front hood of the car, but that's alright because the rest of the visibility is really good. The A-pillars aren't too intrusive. You get a small space here where you can see what's going on the road, and I do like that. Right now we're driving up the winding hills of Norcot just to test out the Aion Y on the twisty bits, and for that I've switched to normal mode and I've switched the steering mode to sport. That does allow me to get a better feedback of the steering. It has weighed up a little bit, but it doesn't feel natural. It feels very computerized, and while it is slightly better to drive in the city, I would still stick to lightweight mode because that's very easy, and sports mode would only be for the serious twisty bits. The suspension also feels decent. It's not too stiff, but the ride is buttery smooth on tarmac. It's very nice to drive, and on the twist there is a fair bit of body roll for this type of car. That is pretty much expected, but I have been told by the passengers in my rear seat that the body roll is very noticeable. This car comes in at 58.5 lakhs, which is a lot of money. But you don't get ADAS, you don't get front object sensors, you don't get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, you don't get a wireless charging port for your phone, and there are certain glaring misses that for a 58.5 lakh car seem kind of dodgy. However, you do get a couple of really good things. The 500 kilometers range, for instance, it's massive. Although it is an NEDC claimed range, you can realistically get around 400 kilometers, which is still very good. And then there's the 100 kilowatt motor. It's amazing to drive. It has good body stability even for a car of this size and type, and that is a big factor for me. And then there's the safety. Although you don't get ADAS, there are other factors that make it a very safe car. So if you're looking for an electric car for a big family with plenty of space, good range for small to longer road trips, this car ticks all the right boxes. And it even fares well for times when you want to enjoy the Aion Y on your own with the beautiful skies all to yourself.